Good morning. We are live. I'm excited. We got a hell of a show for you today. We've got a guest that should be joining us. Congresswoman Julie Johnson is going to join us. We're going to talk about the recent legislative fights that we've had. We're going to there's a lot to talk about. Trump surrendering. We've got it's going to be a good discussion. I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot going on legislatively, so when she gets here, we'll have her pop in. But hey, let's just dive right into it. Good morning, everybody. I am excited. I'm fired up. I love this guest that we have today. I really do. One of the sharpest people in Congress. Congresswoman Johnson, I am super grateful. I know that legislatively there's a ton going on in the House right now. I know you're in the middle of a reelection fight. The primaries are coming up. So I know your time is precious. So I am truly grateful for you sharing it with us. We got some bills passed last night. Some good, some I can't. There's some shit burgers in there, but yeah, I mean it's lots happening. Can you fill us in on where we're standing? I know the Farm Bill passed. I know the DHS funding passed. I know.
Yeah, yesterday was just. Hey, let me just say. Always great to see you, my favorite podcast online person, shit kicker Democrat. I love it, ride or die, my friend. You're such an important voice out there, Paul. I just want to thank you for being you and you doing you. It's, we need people who are willing to really speak truth about what's happening out in the land out there, what's happening to folks. Democrats, how to win, how to organize. And so I just love coming on your show. I just love your voice. I love what you do. But yeah, yesterday.
Making me blush.
Oh, well, yesterday was just a shit show in DC. Let's just be honest about that. It was these Republicans, Speaker Johnson just does not know how to govern at all. So we had, three major things that happened. And first of all was the Farm Bill. And, the Farm Bill is supposed to be, just to kind of back up for a second, it's supposed to be a 5-year authorization of programs. And it has been on a one-year extension because Congress has not been able to pass a comprehensive Farm Bill in the last several years. And one of the biggest sticking points, you can debate the merits of it, but one of the major issues with the Farm Bill is that it marries agricultural policy with SNAP benefits and food support, and that they're combined. And that always is a trigger for the Farm Bill, because oftentimes Republicans want to cut SNAP. Everyone wants our farmers to do well. But the only reason SNAP really gets funded is because it's married to the Farm Bill, because rural members want to support their farmers. And to do that, they're going to have to fund SNAP. And so Republicans have been trying to decouple SNAP from the Farm Bill for a long time.
Fast forward to the big ugly bill.
And Democrats have been like, nope, food support, food sustenance. We are the wealthiest country in the world. Our people shouldn't be hungry. That's a baseline standard that we should have. and that everyone should support, that we should not have profound hunger in the United States of America as the wealthiest country on the earth. So Democrats have held firm on the farm bill, but the problem is they made a lot of cuts, and this time they cut 186 billion with the B out of the farm bill for SNAP, and we had a big protest over it, but it ultimately passed after multiple amendments. But one of the stupidest amendments that we had yesterday, and I'm gonna just pick on Democrats for a minute, because I'm a rider.
You're going to the chicken, aren't you? I know you're going to the chicken, aren't you?
I am going to the chicken, Paul, because it just was the stupidest thing I've ever heard of it. I think for us to have credibility as a party, we have to call our own selves out when we're dumb. And that was the stupidest thing. So there was an amendment to say, because, one of the problems with SNAP and one of the problems with the policies is you can buy frozen food, but you can't buy hot food. And that becomes a thing at like a travel mart. I've done some jobs with Julie's at some of these gas stations that have like a mini mart with them, like a Quick Trip or something. And you can go and buy a frozen pizza with SNAP, but you can't go buy the hot pizza. It's so dumb. And so there was a bill to say you can use your SNAP card to buy hot rotisserie chicken, like at Costco. You can go in, you can go buy hot chicken. So you can go.
In Missouri, there was an exemption for it or something, wasn't there?
Yeah. And Democrats were recommending to vote against that because it wasn't broad enough. I'm like, you know what? I would love it to be broader, but I want people to have hot chicken. So I voted yes. It passed overwhelmingly, but it was just one of those dumb moments in politics in DC yesterday.
Can I throw this out there? This is something that I love to hammer home. People will make good decisions when they have good information. You can get lost in the weeds. You can get lost in the minutia. Oh, I want this to happen, or I want that to happen, this, that, and the other. But when you lay down basic facts that are jaw-dropping, it tends to clear the decks a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a national security issue. These farm bills are a national security issue. We have to produce 1 billion plus pounds of food every single day. Every time that sun rises in the morning, we have to build, cook, package, deliver 1 billion pounds plus. Depends who you talk to. It's either 1.2 or 1.4 billion pounds of food every day. It has to happen. And these farm bills have been successfully for what? I don't remember. Somebody in the audience will tell us when it went into place. This is the most incredible audience you've ever seen. They are the fact. I mean, they know. I'm amazed at the stuff they know. But it's been successful in providing that stability.
Yeah.
To keep our agricultural industry functioning. And now they're going to take $186 billion in SNAP benefits out. That comes right out of farmers' pockets.
You are exactly right. I sit on Foreign Affairs, I sit on Homeland Security, and I sit on House Administration. Those are my 3 committees. And food security is a national security issue. It is, and the American food supply is something that we have to talk about more. My grandfather was a farmer, and my uncles are farmers. I have farmers in my family. I know how hard they work and how hard it is to be a farmer. And I support them in a variety of ways. But hot chicken should not be a debate in our SNAP program of whether or not you can only buy frozen chicken and you can't buy hot chicken. It was just ridiculous yesterday, but I'm glad it passed. I'm glad that amendment passed. I'm disappointed that we cut so much SNAPs. Now we're going to have to really be out. I went to there's a food bank here in Dallas that I support, and went out there and volunteered, and the need is so great. And I was there one time right before Thanksgiving, and meat prices are so high that now they have so many families that just can't get any protein. Because part of the problem is, you can be working full time, but Texas has the lowest minimum wage in the country at $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
And, I did a whole thing on this. I went up to the local Tom Thumb grocery store here and just was talking about how high grocery prices have gotten. And I just happened to pick up a box of diapers. It was $50.
Yep.
And if you're making $7.25 an hour, that's all day for that one thing.
And this is the part that just kills me. The same people that are talking about spending $500 million on a freaking ballroom. You talk about a let them eat cake moment. You're talking about food security. You're talking about people. These are not lazy people. These are not, and you're telling them, well, you can't buy a bag of cookies for your kid, but I'm going to get my ballroom. I'm going
to fund a war in Iran, a foreign war that people don't want. There's that too.
Yep. I want to throw that question at you. Apparently we surrendered. We did. Trump says it's over. It's over. The war in Iran is terminated because he's terrified to go to Congress and ask for an extension.
He won't get it.
One second.
Will not pass. To this point, if I'm going to spend $200 billion on something, I'm funding SNAP. I'm not funding a war in Iran.
Well, this is just, I said this was going to happen. I said this is how it's got to happen. I'm not upset that it's happened. I'm not. I am upset that this is. We're going to get here. Let me just pull up literally, I'm not making this up, folks. I'm not. This is literally happening. Trump has said it's terminated. It's over because he does not want to go to Congress. He doesn't want to ask. He was on a deadline. We had 60 days of this nonsense before he had to go to you folks in Congress and say, can you authorize a War Powers Act? And here we are. We've got nothing. We've got $100 gasoline. We've got a regime in Iran that is actually worse than the old regime. It is more conservative. It is more into, you're talking about Moshtaba Khomeini was the go-to man for Hezbollah. I could show you a picture of him sitting in the Hezbollah headquarters in Tehran. They've got a headquarters building in Tehran. Where the revolution in Iran, over. It's done. It's over because of this invasion. We have literally nothing to show for the billions of dollars that they've pumped into this. We have no agreement, even though they're claiming, oh, well, we have a ceasefire. What ceasefire? You have no ceasefire agreement. There's nothing in writing. And then you have Pete Hegseth sitting in Congress before you folks, running his mouth like a right-wing shit poster, not a Secretary of Defense. No, he's a right-wing shit poster. And I'm just, I'm reading this morning. They're really going to say this. We surrender. We give up. That's it. And the Chinese, by the way, are now running straight through our blockade. You've got this is the Tangshan. This destroyer is in the Gulf of Aden. They've escorted half a dozen Chinese tankers through the Gulf already. This is the Tangshan. So our blockade is Swiss cheese, and I don't mean to be negative here, Congressman Johnson. I don't. I don't want bad things for us. I don't want things. I don't want this to end up being a gigantic failure. But it was set up to be a failure from the beginning. There was nothing done, no preparation, no nothing.
That's right. That was the biggest problem with this whole thing. It was a knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't thought out. There was no game plan. There was no exit plan. There was no win strategy. There was no ally courtship. There was no anything. And it was just an instinctive bend to the knee to Netanyahu. And it was just not thought out at all. And then, when they cut off the strait and oil prices are going up, gas prices are going up, with diesel is what, almost $6 a gallon now or something like that. Around here, gas prices vary across the country, but here in Texas, diesel is a thing. We got lots of diesel pickup trucks running around. But there was just nothing. And then he went on his little rants to the allies. How dare you not come and take it? All of his 2 a.m. tirades of very poor foreign diplomacy. And it's just a mess. So we just need to, no one wants a nuclearized Iran. We all agree on that, but this war did not stop that. And He got nothing. There was no way. The most denuclearized Iran has ever been was after the Obama Iran deal that Trump blew up in his first administration. The world has a common goal to not have a nuclearized Iran, no doubt about that. But this did not achieve that objective, and this did not. It again further diminished the U.S. clout on the world stage, and how our allies view our reliability as a nation, and which is very disturbing.
Yeah, and Iran is reacting. They have again, and I hate to say this, but they have outflanked us, outplayed us in every step of this. They have been one step ahead of us, two steps ahead of us in this, and it just, look, I'm a patriotic American. I am. That does not please me. That doesn't make me happy to sit here and say this, but it's a fact. Well, they've reacted this morning to Trump capitulating and saying, "Oh no, we can't get a vote for war powers. We're done. That's it." So they've sent a fresh peace proposal over this morning that is basically, how like Trump likes to say, you don't hold the cards. Well, this is basically just them laying their hand down and saying, this is what we're going to be playing with right here. It's nothing. They're going to get their demands. They're going to get, and I've said this. Did they deserve reparations? Yeah, they do. If you want to be fair, they do. They do. We attacked them. We did. We attacked them with no imminent threat.
They've definitely had some of their infrastructure destabilized, for sure. A lot of their production capacity has been destroyed. Has to be rebuilt. They've definitely had some negative impact as a result of all this as well. I'm not gonna say they've suffered nothing, because they have. But at the end of the day, I think, Trump just once again displayed how ineffective he is as a foreign policy leader for our nation. How ineffective Secretary Rubio is, how ineffective the entire cabinet is on their policy. One thing that does, I've had all kinds of security briefings and all kinds of things, and I will say this: the men and women of our U.S. military are impressive, and they
very much so,
and they carry out their duties with very high level of professionalism. And they execute amazing. They're so incredible, and what our military men and women can achieve. But they have to have good foreign policy. They have to have good orders to follow. They have to have it's one thing to say that our military can effectuate their mission clearly, but that doesn't mean the mission is good. And so, Trump
got to have an objective.
Trump has just recklessly gotten us into a big old mess over there, and really at the end of the day put a lot of harm on the American people and people throughout the world. Energy prices across the world are all up, and it's just caused everything to go up again on another against the backdrop of an already squeezed people with healthcare, destroying the Affordable Care Act, what they're doing to health insurance access, what they've done with the tariffs, what they've done to the prices of everything. Beef is at an all-time high. Families are really having a hard time because wages have not gone up commensurate with that.
Well, and I want to commend you on that. I really do. I want to commend you on that. You guys have been fighting the fight and getting things done. The provisions that were in the farm bill that were going to protect the pesticide companies, hold out. Good job.
Yeah,
well done.
That was
well
terrible.
done.
They were going to provide complete preemption of any states trying to regulate and immunity and so many things for pesticides that are really polluting our food supply, that are really causing a lot of cancer, really affecting the health of the people. That was just a no-go. And so I'm really happy that we got that killed. Defense is one of the things Democrats do right now. And one of the things that's kind of frustrating as a Democratic politician is defining our successes and defining when we do something good, because it's so hard when you're in the minority party. All you can really do is defense. And that was a really good defensive win for us yesterday.
Yeah. And you also came through for farmers in the, with prices going up, their input costs have skyrocketed. So the cap on the amount of loans that they can get has increased. The cap on the amount of loans that they can get on fields that they allow to remain fallow, it's important, folks. You want to talk about those pesticides? One of the greatest barriers that you have against pesticide pollution is you will see every farm now has a strip that surrounds every pasture of fallow land that they used to farm right up to the edge, man, to inches of the edge of their pasture. They would have crops growing. That doesn't happen anymore. There's always a strip, that eats up their acreage. It eats up their production, but it also eats up any chemicals that are trying to flow into our waterways they're natural barriers, folks. The amount of money that they can get loans on for basically, and this is what pisses me off about Republicans. We are not the same. They classify this as paying farmers not to grow food. That is not true. It is one of the greatest environmental wins we have ever had, and here you go. Democrats doing the work. You've got those loan values increased. You've got a bill that has good things in it. I mean, you've done good things. I understand why you voted yes for it. Is it perfect? No. Am I going to have to argue with the guys over on Blue Sky that well, you didn't get everything, even though we don't control a single branch of government. You didn't get everything I wanted, so damn those Democrats.
Oh, I know. That's the most frustrating part is the purity test sometimes that we put ourselves through on our side. At the end of the day, my objective in government really is, can I make it better? It may not be perfect, but I'm never going to let perfection be the enemy of the good. I'm always, if I can advance it and make it better, then that's what I'm going to do.
Well, yeah, it's about governing as a process. There is no Valhalla. There is no perfect land that we're ever going to get to. We're always going to be pushing and fighting to keep government going the right way, and it will never stop. Yeah. There's no destination. It's how we make things happen. And you guys are doing a fantastic job. The DHS funding.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we even talked about that. So, so we had the farm bill. We had a bunch of amendments. We did farm bill. And so let's go back to DHS. So, we've been in a DHS shutdown now for 70 something days. And before all this happened, Democrats have always said, yes, we need to fund FEMA. Yes, we need to fund those full scope of the Department of Homeland Security, with the exception of ICE, because we don't agree with how they're functioning. We don't agree with their policies. We don't agree with their new program, with their escalation of how they're targeting people on the streets without due process, all the things. So the Senate passed the DHS funding bill without ICE a long time ago, right? And House Republicans said, no, we're not going to pass that. We're going to go in these stopgap measures because we want to fully fund ICE. We're not going to do that. Until yesterday, they couldn't get the bill passed because Democrats, we've been absolutely abundant. We're not funding ICE. We're not funding ICE. No, we're not funding ICE. So what happened yesterday? They finally passed the Senate bill funding Department of Homeland Security on a voice vote that did not fund ICE. Big win for Democrats. So the shutdown is over. The department is funded. It has an appropriation. And, we refused to fund this rogue regime on ICE, and Democrats got yet another win yesterday. And it passed on a voice vote, which is the craziest thing. It took literally 2 seconds for the House. We could have avoided all this. All those men and women that work could have been paid this. We could have avoided this whole thing 70 days ago, and Republicans totally caved yesterday.
Well, the demands that you guys have been making they're so normal. Don't do arrests.
Knocking down people's house without a warrant and yank people out of bed in their pajamas and then put them on a plane to another country without a hearing. That.
That little thing called the Constitution. Let's stick to that. Okay. These are the kind of demands you were making. Don't do arrests in schools. Every police department, coast to coast, border to border, they do not plan arrests in schools because arrests are inherently dangerous things.
And don't shoot people because they're holding a cell phone. That too.
That's important. Yeah. Seems important, seems relevant. In Texas, hey, this is Texas. Do we not all have a firearm sitting within reach? I mean, we all do. How about let's not shoot people for exercising their constitutional right of having a firearm on them that is completely legal.
Oh, yeah, that sent Magaland into overdrive when Trump tried to condemn Alex Pretty for lawfully carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
He should. That turned Magaland upside down. It was pretty funny. Yep.
I'm telling you, y'all are doing a great job. You really are. You're doing a great job. But I want to throw, if you don't mind, want to throw a question at you.
Yes,
here's the thing. I tell people, and this is the message, elect Democrats. Just do it. Elect Democrats. Put your purity test aside. Get it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, Congressman Johnson. I'm going to bug the shit out of you after the midterms. I am going to bug the shit out of you because I think the Democratic Party, my personal opinion, has moved too far right. We need to focus more on the people because once you take care of the basics of the people, we all do well. We all do better when we all do better. The old Paul Wellstone quote that I love so much that I use constantly. We all do better when we all do better. And that's our focus. That's the way we do things. And I want to grab a hold of the Democratic Party and I want to pull left as hard as I can. Mm-hmm. I do. How do we do that? Because the consensus right now is don't vote for Democrats, give Republicans power, because they're not doing everything we want before the election when they don't control a single branch of government. The purity test that we all talk about. So for those people, I'm trying to explain, elect Democrats and we can make changes. And I know I'm going along with this and I do apologize. But the example I like to use is Barack Obama. We elected Barack Obama. He was not where we were. His views on on gay marriage were horrific. They were separate but equal. You cannot say you're married. Civil unions, all that was the party platform when we elected him. But the members of the LGBTQ plus community held their nose and they elected him anyways. And what did we do? Whipped that lasso out, wrangled him, and yanked his ass our direction. I tell people it works. It does. It works. We can pave the way for the party. You're in Congress. You are a member of Congress. How do we do that? How do we get these people that want these things done? They want Israel to have less influence in our government. They do. That you hear all the time. AIPAC, 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 AIPAC. You hear it all the time. How do we do it? How do we do it? I mean, let's make it real.
Well, I think a couple of things to that point. What your Barack Obama gay marriage analogy, that's an example of positively, sticking the faith, working the issue, bringing people along. An example of the consequences of not doing that is Bernie Hillary, and now we have a Supreme Court that just overturned the Voting Rights Act because people stayed out. I think it's two things. One, you have to highlight the consequences of not all being in the same boat and how devastating that can be. And then when you are in the same boat, what does it mean to be a member of Congress? Well, so this is the thing. When people elect Democrats, people evolve on issues, and it's about having people in the room to have productive conversations. I mean, members of Congress, politicians are people too. Nobody likes to be screamed at. I never respond well when someone's yelling at me. Who does? No one does. But when you come and sit down and you have a thoughtful conversation and you tell me your experience and I learn from you, then I go, I never thought about it from that way. Maybe I should go back and revisit that. Or, some other thing happens, and then you can have a positive exchange and you bring people along, because everyone comes to this process with a different background and a different set of experiences that shape their viewpoint. And you learn from each other and you grow, and you have to elect people that are willing to have those conversations and demonstrate an evolution. That's how our whole society, and some people evolve on some issues faster than others. And some people evolve on different issues than those other people. And it's just how the thing is. But at the end of the day, if you're not electing Democrats who have this same core values, and I think at the end of the day, it is okay. We have to be okay with a different pathway to achieve a value, and so let's say healthcare, for example. We all have a value of, do we want a healthier nation? Do we want more people to have access to healthcare? Yes, 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 yes. Now, is that Medicare for all? Is that the Affordable Care Act? Is that Medicaid expansion? Is that, public option? Is that this, that, and the other? There can be legitimate policy debates on how to achieve a goal, and that has to be okay. But the key is, do you share the goal of making healthcare accessible to as many and everyone possible? And I think that's where people get, if you don't agree with my only way to achieve that value, then you're a terrible person and you don't deserve to be in elective office, even though you share the same value. We all learn, and not everyone's policy position is perfect, and people can evolve on an issue too, as circumstances change, as policies change, as the dynamic changes. And, in my own example, I'm just going to put myself out there and talk about Medicare for all. I did not initially support it, mainly because I supported a public option, but mainly because I see how many physicians reject Medicare and don't accept that as an alternative form of payment. And my concern was really doubling down on two different economic systems in healthcare. But, I sat down with, not from screamers on the farther left from me, but I sat down with a policy think tank, 20 healthcare leaders in my community, and we had a closed door session about how can we move the needle to get more people healthcare. And we talked for 3 hours on healthcare policy in a detailed, nitty-gritty way. And I came out of there, I'm for Medicare for all. This is what we need to be doing right now at this time. This is clearly where we need to go. And I learned and I evolved and I'm on it and I've signed on to the bill and I'm a champion for it. And you know what? And rather than, so then there's two, this is the thing. People can say, you know what? How dare you not be from it from the beginning? Or, yay, good for you because you sat down, listened, learned, engaged with the community, engaged and evolved on an issue. And now you're where we think you should be on more the left. Now, people more in the middle, they're not happy that I moved to Medicare for all, right? There's people on the other side are like, we don't like that choice that you made. But I really care about people having health access. I'm very concerned about where we are with the dismantling of the Affordable Care Act, with the dismantling of so many other things. I think that that is the best policy option we have on the table right now. And so, yes. And so that's an example, I think, of productively being in the room and talking about issues as a party and embracing different ideas, as long as you share the core values. Republicans have values of not wanting healthcare access for anybody. I can't, that's just not a core value. And so like having core values of equality for all people, just social criminal justice reform. There's so many issues that we can talk about, but it's okay to differ on how you get there. As long as you can debate it respectfully, not demonize the people who have a different viewpoint, and then you move the needle as a country.
Well, I say this all the time. If you don't control shit, you can't do shit. It's that simple. Until we control Congress, we are not going to be able to control the agenda. We're not going to have any discussion on healthcare for all, much less how far it goes or what form it takes. And by the way, I love Medicare for all because my personal love of that isn't that I think Medicare is the greatest system ever. There are 32 other developed nations that actually have healthcare systems that are better than Medicare for all. But I'm a realist. The system exists. We can beef it up to expand it quickly and easily, and it's a good first step.
Exactly. There's definitely issues and concerns with it, but it's an example to your point of we have to, we have to come together, and we can't be, so exclusionary as Democrats if we ever are going to move the needle for so many people. Because right now, how's it going? Right now, it's not going so well, right? They're cutting staff, they're engaging in all these foreign wars, they're cutting healthcare. They're cutting everything to help working people. They refuse to raise the minimum wage. Now they just dismantled the Voting Rights Act. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I try to explain to people, and I try to get them to understand this simple fact that if you elect Democrats, and they're like, well, they're not going to do everything I want on Israel. They're not going to do everything I want on, you know what I mean? So wait a minute, Haas. Wait a minute. You're putting the cart before the horse. If we put Democrats in power, then when these things come up, we will have a discussion in our own house about what direction it goes, how far it goes, and you will be able to get things done. Do you know what you get done if you don't show up and you elect Republicans?
Dismantling of the Voting Rights Act, cutting the Affordable Care Act, having no health insurance at all. That.
Exactly. And the greatest example I have of that is Gaza. During the last election, you had a percentage. I won't say it was everything that cost us everything in the last election, but it did affect our momentum. It affected our what we were doing online. And look at the results. We could have had the conversation, elected Democrats, elected Kamala Harris, kept control of Congress, and had the discussion, what do we do about Gaza? None of that happened. None of that happened because people they weren't ride or die. They didn't understand.
Right.
Elect people that share our values. Even if they're not doing exactly what we want right now, you elect people that have our same shared values.
Right.
Because when the conversation
somebody all day long that agrees with me 85% of the time versus somebody that agrees with me 0% of the time. Come on. It's like, where are we? What's happening?
Yeah. It's kind of like me in the motorcycle shop. You know, I can go to the motorcycle shop alone all day long, but I'm not taking a bike out of there until I convince my wife to come down to the shop with me and pick one out that she's okay with me buying. It's really, you've got to get there. You've got to get to the conversation. And if we don't show up, if we aren't ride or die, if we don't elect Democrats, you know, and being ride or die, let me just go here. I want to talk about the election because you are fighting a primary right now. Look, I don't put my thumb on the scales in primaries. I don't. I really don't, because I think primaries are a good thing.
Yeah,
I even think that sharp elbows are a good thing in primaries. Where I draw the line is when we start hurting the brand, where things become untrue, where things. Do you mind? May I ask your permission? Do you mind if I mention your wife in this?
Hey, do whatever you want.
Okay, I wouldn't mention your family without permission. I wouldn't.
Oh, it's okay. They're used to it.
We've got this thing that you're getting hit with about stock trading. And the stories that are out there are diametrically opposed to reality. Okay, so let me see if I've got this right. Okay, you educated yourself. You became an attorney.
Yes.
You founded a practice.
Yes.
And were successful. You worked hard.
Yes.
You did what we're supposed to do in America, right?
Yes.
Your wife educated herself, became a doctor.
Yes.
Developed a successful practice.
Yes.
You two got married.
Yes.
You did what you were supposed to do. You have investment money.
Yes.
Hello? You've got investment money. So you invested it, right?
Yeah. And
I take it you did what most of us do, and you hired a guy.
Oh, yeah. I have. I can't manage all that myself.
All right. All right. Now, there's an article I read that was actually a right-wing hit piece that listed all these Democrats that were stock trading. And they pardon my expression, they fucked up in this article because they actually dug up how many trades took place. Right? And you knew this was not reality, because the premise of the article was that Julie Johnson, because you made the list, lady,
I know, that
Julie Johnson trades this astronomical number of times. And I was like, no, not reality, not reality. If that many trades are happening, and I don't dispute that many trades are happening. I'm just saying, but if that many trades are happening, that's a fucking professional trader. That is not Julie Johnson, the Congresswoman, or her wife, the doctor, running a practice, sitting in their office, because you would literally have to day trade all fucking day. I mean, this is obviously a profession, right? So fast forward, we've got the Restore Trust in Congress Act. You go all in.
Oh, yeah.
You divest. You don't wait for the bill to pass and hit the floor. Right. You do what you're supposed to do, and you add to the bill a proposal that says, hey, look, you support a proposal that says, hey, look, no individual stock trading for Congress. Let's have approved funds. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the anti-stock trading bill. I'm an original co-author of that. You know, you're right. I came to Congress with invested assets. I had a very successful career. I think it's one of the things people like about me is I'm a successful person. I'm smart. I work hard. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to go ahead and start the process of divesting all my actively traded accounts. That, by definition, requires you to sell your stock assets. And so, it's this whole argument of, we don't think members of Congress should have stocks. I agree with that. Okay, I'm going to sell mine. How dare you freaking sell your stocks? It's the stupidest, most disingenuous. I'm not buying and selling like on a day trade. I literally was divesting all of my actively traded accounts, that were actively moving. And my opponent created a real false narrative on that. And is using that as an attack against me because he has no record of his own to run on. I mean, he was in Congress for 6 years. under a Democratic majority trifecta with a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, a Democratic president, he should have legislation that he's passed to tout and say, look what I can do when I'm in power. He does not. Instead, he had to manufacture kind of a false, thing about me that's just not true. And like I said, I've had a third-party manager. I divested all my stuff. I've been focusing on healthcare. I've been focusing on wages. I've been focusing on foreign policy, my work in Congress. And it's just a real disingenuous argument, and it's unfair. And people who think about it realize it's just a BS attack. It's just not real. Unfortunately,
well, what got me
into it, and we have to continue to talk about it, I guess.
Well, what got me is it's literally that attack was literally the opposite of reality. It was literally the Republican tactic of taking somebody's greatest strength, which you are leading the way on this issue. Okay. You are one of the people in Congress that is fighting to stop the individual stock trades, which, by the way, I don't have a problem with it. I don't. I'm very different than most people. I fall into a different category. And just for a point of disclosure, like I had Congressman Don Byers on one of the wealthiest guys in Congress because his family started a successful auto dealership business. They've grown it. They've expanded. The guy's got rocks, man. He does. I don't want to not have a Don Byers in Congress because he was successful. I don't want to not have a Julie Johnson in Congress because you're smart as hell. You know what the hell you're doing. Y'all made it. Kudos. Congratulations. But here you are leading the way saying, look, let's not have conflicts of interest. Let's have acceptable funds that you can invest in like everyone. I don't want you to give up your investments. I don't. You earn them. That's the American dream, man.
I agree with that. But at the same time, though, I get, and I totally understand that we have a corruption problem in government that is epic, that is at an all-time high with this president, with this administration. And we have to take strong measures to try to restore the public trust in their elected leaders. And I'm 100% on board with that. And I didn't have to divest my assets. There's no rule right now in Congress that requires me to do that. It's just you have to disclose them. And, if you look at my disclosure reports for the last, I don't know, however, 6, 7, 8 months, I don't know however long it's been, not a single anything, because I already did it, right? I divested within my first year of, all my actively counts, and I think if you have assets that are actively being traded, and you're on legislation that could affect that, it's a conflict of interest. It's a perceived conflict of interest, whether it is or not. And we want public to have trust in us. We have to restore that, and I support that fully. And that's why these attacks on me just pisses me off, because you get burned for trying to do the right thing. I guess in Colin Allred's world, I should have held on to all of those stock assets. And, but that kind of goes against the spirit of what we're trying to achieve in Congress.
Well, I tell you what caused me to, what pissed me off about this the most is this falls into there's a Republican line of attack right now that is trying to go after some of the most effective members we have in Congress, because y'all did exactly what you were supposed to do. You became successful. You educated yourself. Aren't we all supposed to be doing that? I mean, aren't we all supposed to be bettering ourselves? And you guys do it, and they're trying to take out some of the most effective members of Congress we have. And then here we have, in a primary, to me, it's stepping over the line. I understand sharp elbows. I do. And I'm for it, man. Brawl it out, because you will come out of this a stronger congressperson for having fought this fight. You will. So I'm okay with that. But God damn it, helping the Republicans with a bullshit narrative, that to me is no.
It's so frustrating. Debate me on my bills, debate me on my record. And the problem is, he can't do that because my record is such a good, solid Democrat. I am a progressive Democrat, and my record is rock solid on that. And so he had to manufacture some kind of false attack on me because he can't attack me on my record and he has no record of his own to run on. I'm out there campaigning on my votes, on my record, on bills I've passed, things I'm doing, ideas I have to make it better for Texas, for the American people, to restore our democracy. And he's just manufacturing bullshit because he doesn't have it. It is what it is. So, hopefully people will see through that. We're trying really hard. Thank you for the question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you saw me turn red. It really makes me angry. It really makes me angry. Fight your ass off. That's the whole point. That's the whole thing. When I founded the Ride or Die Democrats, that was what it was all about. We're going to make the party better because we're going to fight our ass off in primaries. If you got somebody that you think isn't getting it done for you, support an opponent. Fight your ass off. But when it's over, we've got to walk into that booth, vote for Democrats, and we've got to have a brand and a party that can go forward.
Yeah.
Don't make attacks and primaries that sour the brand. Don't do that. You know what I mean? It just pisses me off. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, Congressman Johnson, don't get me wrong. I know Colin Allred. I do. I like the guy. I do. I think your race is one of those heartbreaking damn races, just like we had Tallarico and Crockett.
Yeah, I didn't pick this fight. He did. I filed. He chose to file against me. There were other seats he could have run in. He could have run in Jasmine's seat, but he chose not to. So here we are.
So look, I appreciate you coming, sitting down with us and explaining things and helping us figure out how we can move the Democratic Party where we need it to go. I mean, you guys are fighting your ass off. You are. You're preserving our values. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get it done. Let's get out there. Let's be ride or die. Let's make it happen. Yeah. I mean, and there are things coming down the road. I mean, if you want to share anything, or you know what I mean, you've got a hell of a campaign that you've got to fight here. I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Have at it, man. Nail it.
Well, I guess if I want to highlight one point about our campaign, it kind of goes down to a point we were talking about earlier, which is sticking true to your values. I think in terms of highlighting our record, I think, people's record is fair game. I don't ever campaign. I don't make up personal attacks on my opponents. I never have. I just don't believe in that. But if you have a record, I'm going to challenge you on your record. And I think that's fair. In this country, we have a very clear distinction in Colin Allred and I on our record on immigration, for example. In this country, it has long been the law of the land that if you commit a crime in this country, we can revoke your permission to be here and you can deport you. If you can't follow our rules, we can kick you out of the country. But what Republicans have been doing is systematically eroding the concept of innocent before proven guilty, the right to due process, our Fifth Amendment protections, all of our constitutional required protections that should be applicable to everyone here. They've been eroding that to say, you know what, no longer is a conviction necessary. An allegation is enough. And Colin Allred voted on that twice. He voted to abdicate our democratic values because he felt he needed to in his Senate race. He pivoted. He's like, I'm going to go more Republican because I think I need to for his own political career. And that is an example of how politicians who break down this trust because they didn't stay true to the values that we believe in. And I fundamentally disagree with that. He was one of 12 Democrats that allow the government to punish cities who refuse to cooperate with ICE, the sanctuary cities. 12 Democrats, he was only 12. And now he's complaining that Abbott was weaponizing Houston and Dallas for not complying with ICE on a bill he voted for. And, so it's just, I have no patience for people who flip-flop and who use things based on their own political perceived gain. And I'm a ride or die Democrat. I stay true to my values, consequences be damned. And I voted against that stuff time and time and time again. I've always stood on our democratic values. And that's a huge distinction in our records. And so, I think we're resonating a lot in the campaign, but he's got a bigger name ID. He has more money. If you care about us in this race, I'd love for people to come out and support us. You can go to juliejohnson.com. You can follow me on all the socials. We need people to engage. If you're in the Dallas area, would like to volunteer, we'd love to have it. If you're not and would like to help us send a few bucks, that would be amazing. But that's a huge distinction. And I think, flip-flopping on your values for your own political, that's what gives people that's what irritates people about Democrats. We just got to elect people that are going to be Democrats, stay to our values, fight hard, and never waver. And that's what I try really hard to do.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never seen you shoot a commercial down in front of Trump's fucking wall.
No, so, yeah. I have not done that. I've stood against that every turn. And our values are our values. And, the Lincoln Riley Act, for example, was one of the very first votes I took in Congress because it didn't pass his Congress, although he voted for it. It was so they brought it up in our Congress. It was before all this ICE stuff happened. It was before all this other stuff, but before becoming against ICE was popular or whatever. But I am never going to erode our constitutional protections of due process in this country ever. And so I have consistently voted against all that stuff. And they bring it up all the time in a variety of contexts to try to do gotcha votes for people. But you have to just know your values, know your worth, know where you are, and vote how you believe. And that's what I always do.
Do you have just a couple more minutes? Because there was something I was going to talk about after you left, but I would love to get your take on this. One of the things we do on this show is we talk about the politics behind the headlines, the strategies behind the headlines. The Republicans have thrown a pitch out. They're trying to frame something. They have, pardon my expression, I know I'm a little bit colorful. They have fucked us with what's gone on in Iran, and they need an out. They need an out bad, and they have figured out they want to talk about high oil prices being your fault, Julie Johnson. This is going to be your fault. You did this, and this is how they're going to do it. I'm telling you, they're framing something up right now. This is happening. This is happening. If you're not aware, do you know what a Rice's whale is? Okay, this is a Rice's whale. This is similar to a blue whale. It's smaller. It's got a pink belly. They only live in the Gulf of Mexico, and they are one of the most endangered species on the face of the planet. There were about 100 of them by count. Then this happened. Back in, you'll remember back in 2010, this happened. We had the Deepwater Horizon blow up, spill oil all over the Gulf. After that happened, the Rice's whales were cut in half. There's only about 50 left. That's it. About 50 left. Well, Trump convened his God committee, and they call them, for the folks that don't know, they call it the God committee because they play God. They call it the God squad. And they have decided they're going to come up with this narrative that says, drill, baby, drill. The reason we have high oil prices is Democrats want to protect this whale more than they want you to have diesel to put in your truck. So they convened the God squad and said, fuck that whale. No more protections for the Rice's whale. We're going to cut the oil companies loose. Drill all you want. Here's the problem. It will do shit for oil prices. You know how long it takes to get a rig out into the Gulf, drill, and start pumping?
Oh, a long time.
This is not a real issue. This is not really about oil prices. This is nothing. This is about creating a false narrative where they say, we're either going to kill, and they are. They have already made the decision. This is done. Mm-hmm. The Rice's whale, they're dead. They're done. They're gone.
Last week. Hey, Paul.
So they're going to bait you. Let me wrap it up. I'm sorry. They're going to bait you. They're going to put you in the situation of sitting down with the environmentalists that support us and either saying, no, we're not going to go all out to save this whale, Or yes, we are going to go out and save this whale, in which case you're the reason we have high diesel prices. You care about these fucking fish. I know they're not fish. These fucking fish more than you care about Cletus and his goddamn pickup truck that needs diesel. And they're going to ride that into the next election because the Republicans aren't dying. They're not going away. They're not through fighting. They are literally building this fight right now. They're baiting us. Come on, fight with us about this whale. Just like they do with gun control every election. Suddenly, all of a sudden, even though I've had my gun sitting next to me forever, before every election, old Paul wants to come take your guns away.
Yeah. I mean, they create these false narratives, and I think it's just like what they did with, trans sports builds. You know how many college trans athletes we had in Texas last year? 0. It's like they create these false crises or sort to justify their beholdenness to big corporations and their billionaire donors who just only need to make more billions of dollars. You can protect whales and you can bring gas prices down at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And it's about just making sure that we educate people. And unfortunately, the problem is people just with this 30-second headlines, they don't take time to learn and read the issues, and they get sucked into these belief structures, and you have to challenge them like every step of the turn. And but anyway, unfortunately, I have another interview that I'm really late for. I have to go get on. But I just want to say thank you so much. It's always good to see you. Thank you to all you online. I've been reading some of your comments. You have a very informed viewership. I agree with so much of the stuff in here. And, thank you so much. And, ride or die, Paul. Ride or die. Go Texas.
Thanks for being here. Thank you for your time.
Oh, always. Take care. Bye.
That's what we have in Congress, folks. I mean, when you're going to see the purists and the people shit talking the Democratic Party and you see me get angry and lose my shit, it's because I know what we have in Congress. I know what's happening. And these people are more than willing to talk to you, more than willing to get their message out. But the corporate media is not going to allow that. They're not. Right now, what I just described to you with what's going on with the Rice's whale, right now, the corporate media is helping the Republican Party set that fight up. They've created a crisis for no reason. It's not going to affect your gas prices. It's not. The protections for this whale, we limited the drilling in the Gulf exactly because of what happened with the Deepwater Horizon. It's not if it will happen again. It will happen again. It will. It's just going to happen. And the drilling is going to disrupt this. I'm telling you, they have killed the Rice's whale. They have. There was only 51 left. This is going to be the end of them. It is. And it's not going to do anything they claim it's going to do. There was nothing about the protecting of that whale that was stopping us from producing oil. We're producing more oil than we ever have. It's their stupid fucking war in Iran, their stupid disruptions of supply chains. But no, they're going to go tell Cletus, you give a shit more about that damn whale than diesel. Drill, baby, drill, baby, drill, baby, drill. And it's made up. It's like Riley Gaines in her fifth place finish with a transgender athlete suddenly became the most important thing because they wanted it. They want it. They want to believe that all we care about, we don't give a damn about them. We don't care about people being hurt. We don't care about, inflation. It's our fault. It's all our fault because of our us trying to protect, clean drinking water. Good God, what's wrong with you? Not killing off species stupidly for no reason? What's wrong with you? Good God, don't you want diesel? These things aren't mutually exclusive. They aren't. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do, but we can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. They cannot. They cannot. They absolutely cannot. And if you want proof of that, just look at what's happened in the last 24 hours. We talked in the last show about the Farm Bill. Democrats fought their ass off and they got the stupid shit. We talked about the protections for the pesticide companies, how they were going to absolutely demolish states' abilities to actually just even demand labeling and then hold companies accountable if they don't meet those labeling demands. We're talking about something as simple as printing a damn label. And on top of that, they're throwing in liability protections, and Democrats got that hold out. They did. But if you look at the corporate media, they're saying Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican, and Maha got that hold out of there. No. Do you think it was every Democrat that was demanding this? Or do you think it's a couple Republicans that joined us that are responsible for this? That's the corporate media for you, man. Yeah, I don't think people realize just how against us they are. What headwinds we're going into just to get messaging out. And then you constantly hear on social media, well, why don't the Democrats message better? To who? They're on social media, but most of the people lodging that complaint aren't following them. All they want to do is say something stupid like, but Chuck Schumer or but Hakeem Jeffries, like trained freaking parrots. And you don't know what these guys are doing. You don't know that Hakeem Jeffries has come out swinging, man. He has. He's come out swinging. He is all into this redistricting, this gerrymandering fight, because if you don't know, this happened. This just happened. If you aren't aware, the Voting Rights Act just ended. It just ended, completely ended. John Roberts likes to talk and try to put this image out like I just follow the Constitution. I just, I call balls and strikes and bullshit. This has been his agenda. He's been very vocal about it. This has been his agenda. John Roberts has wanted to gut and destroy the Voting Rights Act for decades. He has worked on this. This has been his central policy push. And what they did, I can explain this to you in the easiest, most Cliff's Notesy way. It's really simple to understand what they did. The Supreme Court just ruled that it's not enough that a map is racist and biased against people of color. It's not enough that a map is racist. It's not enough that a map completely dilutes a community That's not enough anymore. That used to be the standard, which makes sense, right? Is it racist or is it not? Did you just take a community and completely haul their voice out, basically giving them no representation by drawing a map that carves up their community? That used to be enough. That's over. The Supreme Court says that you must prove that when they drew that map, that racism was their intent. You got to know what was in their head. And not only do you have to know that they're a bunch of bigots, but you have to be able to provide the court with documented evidence that they were intentionally bigoted. That's it. It's over. Because you can't. Unless they're stupid enough to sit down and write a memo. I am redistricting this because I really hate black people and I don't want them to have any representation in our government. I don't give a shit about their issues. I don't give a shit if they live or die. Send. That's what John Roberts finally did. He finally got his dream come true. The Voting Rights Act is over. For all intents and purposes, it's done. And like I said, Hakeem Jeffries, he ain't having it. He isn't. Because in order to prove our point, Jeff fucking Landry, the governor of Louisiana, just canceled an already ongoing election. They are voting in primaries right now in Louisiana. They're voting. I mean, they are already early voting. And he's just canceled that. Why? Because Jeff Landry says, you can't prove I'm a racist, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these two black majority districts that exist, that you Democrats keep winning in, because you actually give a shit what happens to black people. Those districts are gone. We're going to redraw our map. We're going to suspend an election that's already going on. We're going to end it. And we're going to move the election date down the road after we redraw these maps, ending all black representation in the state of Louisiana, even though blacks make up 33% of the minority. It's just in your face exactly what we said they were. They're fucking bigots. They are. Judy, yes, it's done. It's done. The entire process is over. There's nothing left to do. The fix for this? Elect Democrats, pass legislation. That's it. Pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And again, to his credit, Hakeem Jeffries has come out and he has said, that's it. It's all on the table. It is all on the table. We are not going to play this. We are not going to bring a knife to a gunfight. You want to do this across the South? You want to be bigots? You want to redraw the maps? Then we will redraw all our maps. Hakeem Jeffries says all options are on the table as we get through the 2026 election and look to the future. Jeffries told Politico by phone Thursday, as many governors have already indicated, we will be prepared to respond in states like New York, Illinois, and Maryland, as well as in Colorado, in advance of the 2028 election. And quicker than that, Governor Hochul, New York, said, hold my beer. New York is going headfirst into redistricting. You're talking about a situation where Democrats are now saying, okay, we're going to eliminate every Republican. California is rethinking their map. With this decision, California could eliminate every Republican. Illinois was in the process of drawing up legislation to try to make more fair representative maps going forward. They put that on hold. No, we're not doing that. We've got to look at what Republicans do. And Jeff Landry cannonballed into the pool and squeezed out a turd. Folks, I don't know if you know this. I say it all the time. I hope that you know this. The strength of a democracy doesn't come from who wins elections. The strength of a democracy is tested by whether or not you can lose an election. If we don't have democracy, what's the option that is left? Now, we can't not do this. We can't not gerrymander. But once you do that, because the Republicans are going to do it, they're doing it. They've canceled the election. What is left on the table? Because democracy is gone. Thank you. Thank you. Exactly. Violence. Because democracy means I don't have to kill you to make changes. That's it. It's not some high-minded ideal. Democracy exists, so I don't have to kill you to make changes. And Republicans are losing. And they don't want to lose. So they've changed the maps here in Texas. They've changed the maps. They're going into Louisiana. Now they're going to do it in Mississippi. And they're going to say, we can't lose. Well, if you can't lose, you don't have a democracy. And if you don't have a democracy, okay, let's get to killing each other. Because that's all that's left on the table. And that is not what we want. But the Democrats cannot not respond to this. In fact, they have to respond in the way that Hakeem Jeffries is saying. They have got to put it all on the table. They've got to make the Republicans understand, if you go down this road, you lose. Way to go, Hakeem. Way to go, Hakeem. And he's not the only one that's standing up. He's not. This has happened too. Trump is pissed. Trump is just having a fit and falling back into it. He is. Kudos to Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is refusing to step down from the Board of Governors. So he's being replaced as the chairman of the Board of Governors, but he's not leaving. Typically, when the chairman is replaced, they resign, and the incoming person that's nominated will be nominated to take their seat on the Board of Governors. He said, "No, fuck that. Your abuses of the system will not stand." Remember, I told you in a previous show, they Trump-proofed the Board of Governors at the Federal Reserve? This is what I'm talking about. Or the incoming person that's going to be the head, who's going to take Jerome Powell's place, he may want to do everything that Trump wants to do, but he can't. The votes aren't there. So we're going to continue to have competent leadership at the Fed. We're going to continue to have competent leadership at the Fed. Do you think Jerome Powell wants this fight? He's an old man. He is an old man. Do you think he really wants to end his career and end his life, spend the last bit of his life having this fight? Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. But he's a patriot, and he gives a shit. And that's why I say, folks, these people that are purists, these people that attack Democrats, they're slapping people like Jerome Powell in the face. You've got Julie Johnson that was here. She is working her ass off. She is, man. Campaigning's not easy. Every Democrat running is working their ass off, and you've got these people that are vote suppressors and negative. They're just slapping these people in the face. They're pissing on them because they think they know best, and they don't. They don't. The Farm Bill, it's a matter of national security. The system that we put in place to protect and help our farmers is a matter of national security. If you don't have food stability and food security, you don't have anything. It's just the basic of logistics. You just don't have anything without it. And here we have Democrats fighting their ass off to do the right thing, to get the Farm Bill passed, to maintain the system that's working without adding in horrific things like, I don't know, if a pesticide company produces a pesticide that gives all your children cancer, we can't touch that pesticide company. We can't hold them accountable. Now, the Republicans were more than willing to do that. They were more than willing to do that. But again, you're going to have this dipshit on social media. Both parties are the same. They're both corporatists. They're both, I don't want any corporate Democrats. Fuck me, dude. What do you need to see before you realize we are not the same? Democrats are sticking it out. They're telling you shit like, are you fucking kidding me? We're spending $1 billion a day on a war of choice that was just stupid, that's screwing us economically. And you want to argue about, can people on Snap buy a fucking rotisserie chicken? Or buy their kids a bag of cookies? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I know who I identify with. I know I know. I wear this emblem every day. Now, do I think that's it? No. Utopia doesn't exist. It doesn't. We have to fight to keep our government as good as possible, and that fight will never end. Never. So, yeah, I'm all in for let's dive in. Let's pull that Democratic Party left. Let's do it, man. It needs to be done. It's moved too far right. But once we do that, that ship is going to start lumbering left. And government it's a big lumbering ship, man. And once it starts lumbering left, there's going to be a point where we're going to have to go, stop, stop. You're going too far. Yeah, that day's going to come, man. So, no, I'm not here bullshitting you. I'm not promising you, you know what, if you'll just show up and elect Democrats like Julie Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, and if you'll just elect them guys, everything will be perfect, man. Everything would no. I'm promising you a lifetime of work that you will hand to your children. They will have to do this too. Your grandchildren will have to do this too. But goddamn, man, let's elect the people that at least hold the same values we do. You know, Congresswoman Johnson just talked about Medicare for all. That happens to be what I support. Do I support it because I think it is the best system? No. Out of 33 developed nations, 32 of them have been able to develop healthcare systems and make it work. And they're better than Medicare for all. So when I say I'm for Medicare for all, does that mean that's the end of it? No. It means the system is there. All we have to do is beef it up so that it can now support everybody. And then we keep working from there to improve that. Keep that momentum going. That's and there are folks out there that are saying, Paul, you're crazy. You're the problem. You're the problem because you won't reach for that brass ring of the United States adopts Canada's healthcare system tomorrow. Because I won't reach for that brass ring. I'm the problem. Folks, I'm the only person sitting here in that conversation that's saying, you know what? Elect the people that can do any of it. If we don't control shit, we can't do shit. And historically, again, I will bring up Barack Obama again because we all love that fucking guy. And he got there. It works. What Congresswoman Johnson was talking about is, no, don't elect Democrats and then go home and ignore it. No. Bug the living shit out of her. Because the more they hear it, And this is just dumb. That's just dumb. He was not a corporate shill. He did the best he could in the environment he was in. It's that simple. Of course I'm preaching to the choir, Martha. Of course I am. Because preaching to MAGA is a waste of time. It is. It's a waste of time. That fight we were talking about with the whales that's coming up, that they're trying to frame it as we just give a shit about whales and don't care about gas prices? There you go. I mean, there you go. If I don't talk to us and say, look, this is what they're doing, we don't get anywhere. Now, we don't win MAGA by talking to MAGA. We don't. Because anybody, I did a lot of reading about cults because they're a cult. They are a cult. They have their own self-identity. They've developed their own system. You ever have anybody tell you you have Trump derangement system? That's a cult mechanism. Every cult leader does that. They come up with a catchphrase that says, whatever it is, blank, you're a capitalist, you're bourgeoisie. It's just a quick phrase to where their followers stop thinking. Oh, you've said something that makes me uncomfortable. Trump derangement system, Trump derangement syndrome. You have Trump derangement syndrome. And they stop thinking. They completely dismiss all that you say. And they dig in deeper and harder. That's why they tell people that are trying to save family members in cults, don't attack the cult. Don't attack the cult. Because it will just make them dig in deeper. So me talking to MAGA about policy and policy fights and say, will just make them dig in deeper. I have to ignore them until the pain for them becomes real. And that's happening right now. That's happening right now. These gas prices are here, and they are here to stay. The inflation is here, and it is here to stay. And they're going to get hurt. The way you win MAGA over is when they voluntarily come around. And this is no shit. People that deprogram cult members will tell you this. Remind them what they used to be. Now, here's the catch. That means you've got to lie. Because MAGA never used to be good and decent. So how are you going to remind MAGA? They've always been bigots. When they come around and they're hurt and they're lost and they're detached from their cult, how are you going to come around and tell MAGA, oh, remember the person you used to be? Remember when you used to be a person that cared about states' rights? Remember when you used to be a person that cared about people's, we're doing a lot of the same things, and you can't do that because they never really did. So you have to lie, and you have to remind them of the bullshit they used to say about themselves. The bullshit narrative about how they're all patriots and how they care what happens to the country. And they're doing this all. They're hurting the LGBTQ plus community because they love America. They love the American people. And that has to be done. Which means that they're shit people. But when we talk to them in the future, which can't be now, it can't be about policy. It has to be when they're detached from the cult, when the hurt that they're experiencing, when they've been run through the fucking ringer enough that they detach themselves, we have to play to that fantasy. Oh man, you remember when you used to be a patriot? And you used to give a shit and you were all about the military and all that. Well, look what happened to our military, man. I'm with you. See, we're the same. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's when you can start to reintroduce them into reality. But if I go to talk to MAGA now, they're just Trump derangement syndrome, fake news, shut down, dismiss everything, and dig in deeper because you're threatening their identity. Martha, I like you so much that entire screed was for you, ma'am. I do appreciate you being here. I really do. I really do. Because I'm telling you, this is really happening. China is really in the Gulf of Aden. The Tangshan and Batu escort groups are escorting ships in and out of Iran. They are. They're doing it right now. And we're doing exactly what I said had to happen. Trump has to take the loss, and we've got to eat the shit burger. The deterioration of respect, the faith in that we will act properly, that we won't be stupid, that we won't plunge people's economies needlessly into crisis. Yeah, man. This sucks. This sucks. This really sucks. But it's got to happen. Because the only other alternative ends us as a nation. The only other alternative is we, a country of 320 million people with a massive GDP, go to war, and I mean all out war, not these airstrikes, not what you've seen so far. I'm talking about war that makes you cry at night when you find out the things that we will do. Go to war with a country of 90 million people. And that can't happen. So yeah, we're going to eat this shit burger. We are. Trump did this. Trump did this to us. That will be common ground that you can have with Cletus later. Trump did this to us. Because we can't continue. You're talking about full-on economic collapse. And our credit, I'm telling you, there is another 2007, 2008 crisis looming right now. Home prices in Phoenix, Arizona are dropping like a lead balloon. Home prices in Tennessee are dropping like a lead balloon. People are going underwater in their mortgages. The next thing is they start to default, which is already starting to happen. People walk away. Hey, this shit box that I owe $350,000 on isn't worth but $250,000. I'm not going to eat that. And they walk away. And then the banks start collapsing. We're already seeing massive defaults in the automobile industry. We're seeing massive defaults on mortgage loans. They're spiking like crazy. We're seeing inventories building up across the country because nobody's buying homes. Why? Because the overwhelming majority, almost 70% of the country, believes that their economic outlook is worsening right now. And when people feel that way, they don't buy. And if you think that's not real, you know where you could get laughed at? I've been in the Harley dealership lately. I had to get some tires put on my motorcycle. Used to be when you walked into a Harley dealership, the words "make me an offer" never came up, ever. It costs this much, pay it or leave, loser. A Harley today costs what a Harley cost when I bought mine new in 2005. Yeah, I got a beautiful Harley Davidson, man. I do. I ride. But I was in that dealership, and boy, howdy, let me tell you what, man. Let's make a deal. Come on, let's go for a ride. It's changed. They don't have people buying those bikes anymore. That dealership is full. I mean, it's literally overflowing. That's really happening, folks. All of this is really happening. And right now, we've got the dumbest people in the world running this country. The absolute dumbest people in the world running this country that are worried about white supremacy, Project 2025. You know, it's like they want to govern, they'd rather rule over the ashes than lose. I mean, this, because they were scared to look like they were going to take a loss because they wouldn't look strong. They wouldn't meet basic demands for decency. Hey, I got an idea. How about we give that Gestapo police force a uniform so we can recognize them? How about we have them wear body cams so when they break the law, we can prosecute them and hold them accountable? Nope. If we do that, we'll look like we lost. And if we look like we lost, Cletus will quit believing that we're inevitable. And he'll leave the cult. Because right now, that's the high that Cletus is getting. That's the high that Cletus is getting. Look what I did to you, motherfucker, and you can't do nothing about it. Fuck you, I'm tough. Well, as this whole house crumbles around him, Cletus's point of view is going to change. It just is. Right now, Cletus changes oil at the Harley dealership. Well, they ain't selling any service contracts right now. Nope. But here's what you got Democrats doing. In that farm bill, in the credit title, the bill would increase loan limits for guaranteed operating loans to $3 million and guaranteed ownership loans to $3.5 million. Direct ownership loans would be increased to $850,000, while direct operating loans would be increased to $750,000. The bill also includes provisions meant to speed up approval times, especially for certified and preferred guaranteed lenders. In conservation, the bill reauthorizes, this is what I was talking about, the area that you see, when you drive through farmland, you'll see that strip in between each pasture, which is allowed to go fallow. This is addressing that. In conservation, the bill reauthorizes the Conservation Reserve Program and keeps the cap on acres at 27 million. The bill also addresses state laws requiring standard living conditions for animals providing meat and eggs, such as California's Proposition 12, by saying states and localities cannot require living conditions outside their jurisdiction, which means the state of California can't tell the poultry producers in the state of Texas how they have to house and care for their chickens. It's states' rights. Yeah, Democrats are doing that shit, man. Stability, food is logistics. Food is national security. What are the Republicans doing? Let's take $186 billion out of SNAP, where we feed the poorest among us, the people that take the jobs that don't pay enough to live. Let's be honest. That's who we're helping. That's who we're helping. That mythical unicorn of the person that just sits at home and does nothing. No. SNAP benefits help people that are disabled. SNAP benefits help people that are working, that are the working poor. I have a son that works at Walmart. He does not make enough to buy a home. He drives a junky old car. One of my sons is the working poor. I believe he got his daddy's ADHD, to be honest with you. That's the people that are on SNAP. They're not lazy. They're doing the jobs that you have to have them do. And what did we do? We took $186 billion of support for those people, tried to make it where they couldn't buy a fucking rotisserie chicken or a bag of cookies. And we took all that business away from farmers. Because, look, I get it. MAGA farmers piss me off too. Stupid dicks. The fuck is wrong with you? The fuck is wrong with you? How many times do we got to save your ass because you keep voting Republican? I get that. I do. But I also understand food, 1.2 to 1.4 billion pounds of food every day must make it from field to your table and every step in between. And we just kick farmers in the cooter. What do you think that's going to happen, man? That's Republicans for you. You know, those people that claim to be about national security, fucking our food logistics up. Yeah, man. And this is just a perfect freaking picture of the difference between Democrats and Republicans. These are the icons of our nation. That is the Washington Monument. This is the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. It is one of the most beautiful places you will ever go in your life. It's awe-inspiring. It feeds your soul when you stand on that ground, when you stand on these steps. I promise you, if you have not been, go to our nation's capital. Please take a vacation to Washington if you can. And stand on these steps, man. And yes, when you build something as iconic as the reflecting pool, you build it out of granite and you make it last a lifetime. But you do eventually have to repair it. And when you repair it, it has to be that caliber of repair. We knew at some point we were going to have to rip the granite up and reset it, repair it. We knew that was going to happen. And that repair would have lasted a lifetime. But this is Republicans. They're spraying and rolling out blue pool liner. And that's going to last a couple of years, just like it does in your cheap swimming pool. Yep. Because we are not the same. Republicans don't believe you deserve this. They don't believe that our iconic buildings and structures that represent who we are as a nation should be of this caliber. You don't deserve a reflecting pool made of granite. You deserve a shitty swimming pool from Walmart. So no, we are not the same. We are not the same. We're a two-party system with one party left in it. That's who we are. And if it's that simple. The Democrats have not held control of Congress since 1960, of all three branches of government since 1969. We have to drive the Republicans out of every branch. And I understand lofty goals, and I understand wanting to get things done. I am with you. If you want to have the conversation about let's limit Israel's influence in our government, I am with you. I am with you. Here's the difference. I understand if we don't control shit, we can't do shit. You can't put the cart before the horse. You can't say, you will meet this goal or I will not elect you. I will give power to these people that don't share my values at all. I'll let them destroy our Voting Rights Act. I'll let them invade Lebanon. I'll let them start wars. I'll let them destroy our economy. If you don't do this one thing, I know I agree with you on 90% of what you do, but if you don't give me that 10%, this is what I'm going to do. And that can't happen. That cannot happen. That cannot be who we are. So like Jerome Powell, who would much rather be doing something different, I'm here doing this full time. Look, I'd much rather be building a shop. I had a dream, people, and it involved, a 60 by 40 building where I could work on things, where I could weld, where I could, have my woodworking shop installed, and I could do all the things that I wanted to do and fish the way I want to fish. But instead, I am doing this because it's got to be done. Who else do you know? I'm going to blow my own horn here. Who else do you know talks to you like this? Because everybody else I know that does what we do for a living, what I do for a living, what you people graciously allow me to do for a living, every one of those people are cowards. If a conversation gets difficult or is going to make somebody get upset with them, they don't talk about it. I will. And so will you. That's why we're here in this community. So please, pretty please, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free. It's not a membership. It's just the same as everyone else's follow button, but it helps us with the algorithm. It will help find more. There are more like-minded souls out there. We just have to find them and bring them into our community so that we can become that stability and that force that pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes. Let's do this. It's really simple. Hit the subscribe button. That's the only metric. We are growing in every aspect. This channel is growing in every single aspect. The only metric that is not on a meteoric climb is the subscriptions. I like Adam Mockler a lot. If you have not watched that young man, you are definitely shortchanging yourself. In fact, I want you to do that. Make it a mission. I want you to go specifically find Adam Mockler. He's like me. He's on just about every social media platform out there. Whichever one you like, you'll be able to find Adam Mockler. That young man is fantastic. He is fantastic. Mockler. There's an L in it. Mockler. But there are a lot of really good people out there. But goddamn, there are so few out there that are willing to tell people on our side, You can't do that. You can't be a purist. We have to keep momentum up. The Democrats are fucking wonderful. I mean, look what they just did. Yeah, Harry Sisson is very good too. There are some good people out there. There are. But I'm telling you, I'm going to blow my own horn again. I've seen none of them stand up and tell their base, you can't do this shit. There's one party that's functioning, and we have to keep it functioning. Even if it's not perfect and it's not everywhere we want it to be, we've got to keep it functioning, and we've got to give it all three branches of government. And if you don't think that works, I'm going to make one last point here. If you don't, David Pakman also, I love David Pakman. Man, I love that that's how you people are so damn informed. You're wired into the best people already. Amen. Amen to my brothers over at Midas Touch. Amen. Look. Shit. You get it. You know, you understand. You understand. You understand. We've got to get control. We've got to, not just as Democrats, I'm talking about within our community, we've got to get control. The people that wear these pins have to be the ones making the decision, because these decisions, look, we've got Congresswoman Julie Johnson here, who I love. I do. She's got a primary coming up. And it's one of those situations, just like Tallarico and Crockett, where I liked both of those people. I've had Colin Allred on this show before. I like Colin Allred. I do. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking. But only one of them is going to walk through this. And when they do, we've got to have their back. And you can bet your ass I'm going to be fighting to make sure they defeat their Republican opponent. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Folks, I do apologize for not reading your comments today. I don't do that when I have a guest on because I don't want to interrupt their flow and their thoughts. Their time is very precious. Congressman Johnson, like I said, not only is she running a reelection battle, she is also in the middle of heated congressional battles. She is working hard to get things done for you. So yeah, I do apologize sincerely for not reading your comments today. I do thank you for the support. I appreciate you being here. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's save our country. Let's bring our morals back. Let's bring our decency back. And also enjoy some Texas cities at night.